video to follow, I would like to give you a little bio on who I am interviewing. Matt Vande Vegte is a certified master fitness trainer and nutritionist, and he also lives with type 1 diabetes. And he takes what is impossible and makes a way to change this to possible. He completed a full-distance Ironman race while maintaining blood sugars all in range, time in range. That's incredible, and I'm sure he will talk a little bit about that. He wrote a #1 best-selling book called The Blood Sugar Freedom Formula. He founded a T1D coaching and educational company called FTF Warrior, through which he has helped thousands thrive with diabetes. And I have always looked for improving my diabetes. I did first see Matt on Facebook, and then I saw him on Instagram. And I noticed that he dealt and shared a lot with exercise and type 1 diabetes. And I weight train with not many issues with my blood sugars going too low, but the cardio really got me because I really wanted to participate in higher cardio activities. So he sparked my interest there. So I did buy his book, and I read it through once, and then I read it through again. And I'm all about formulas. I love that, to do with math formulas. And Matt helps you understand and how to figure these formulas out. I then joined the FTF Warrior coaching, and I have experienced some great results. I am currently training for a 10K, and I'm so excited to do this run because it's something I've never been able to really conquer, and now I'm actually running with my blood sugars time in range. So stay tuned next as you hear Matt Vande Vegte and be encouraged and motivated by what he has to say. Hi, Matt. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic today. How are you doing?
Good. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat and let people know a few things about your journey with diabetes.
Absolutely.
First, I just want to zone in on when you actually developed diabetes and kind of what exactly was going on in your life at the time.
Ooh, okay. So I was diagnosed at age 19. My doctor actually was like, "Oh, this is called juvenile onset." And then he paused and was like, wait. he realized I wasn't a kid, you know. But when I was diagnosed, I was a collegiate athlete. So I was 19 in college at San Diego State University, and I was a rower on the rowing team. And I'll be completely honest, I was totally ignorant to diabetes. And my first thought, I feel bad about this now, but my first thought was, well, I'm not overweight, I'm an athlete, this isn't possible, right? I was very misinformed, obviously. But I was confused. And that was my first experience, was just confusion and a bit of denial, probably some anger.
Yeah. So obviously the diagnosis came as a surprise to you.
It did. Yeah. For a couple of months, I was very thirsty, peeing all the time, probably drinking 3 or 4 gallons of water a day, like insane. So I went into the hospital thinking I had a UTI and got some worse news. It's actually type 1 diabetes. And my doctor, very misinformed as well, said, "You'll be dead in 10 years. You're going to have complications. You'll lose some limbs probably, and you can never have sugar or carbs ever again." And then he left. And that was it. And then they forgot to send me home with both insulin types. So I stayed at 400 for the night.
Wow. So what were your coping skills, your coping mechanisms at the time when you first got that diagnosis? You're on a rowing team, you're in university. What did you do?
I'll be honest, I did not respond very well. Did not take care of myself. I had some underlying insecurities from being a kid and getting bullied. And I think that for me, I saw it as a vulnerability and as a weakness. So I hid it. I didn't tell anybody. I pretended it didn't exist. I mostly took insulin when I needed to, but I would go sneak away to the bathroom to take my injections, and I just wanted people to think I was normal. And so I did not respond well. But one of my coping mechanisms, I wanted to see it as a positive, and I actually told my mom the week that I was diagnosed, I said, I'm going to go find Superman stickers, and I'm going to put them on my insulin vials. And so that way when I take injections, I can pretend that I'm injecting like superpowers into me. I never actually did that, but I was looking for the positives in some capacity from day one, but it took me a couple years to actually take care of my blood sugars.
That's a natural reaction for sure. So did you feel like diabetes at that time was controlling you?
No, I would say it was not controlling me, but it's also because I was not controlling it. I wasn't making the effort. And so I've two clearly defined phases in my diabetes. One is stupid fearless, where I just did what I wanted and ignored it. The other one was smart fearless, where I intentionally made the effort to control it so that it wouldn't hold me back. But there definitely was a phase in the middle where I wanted to control it, but didn't know how, that it did control a lot of my decisions, my lifestyle, my routines, because I thought that's what you had to do.
So can you tell me what it took to change how you felt about controlling your diabetes? Like, were there certain situations that triggered changing your mindset to, I'm going to control this. I'm going to be able to keep my blood sugars in range. When you think of any of those, was there something in particular?
It's a good question. I would say there were two distinct moments. One was, it was just having a rough day. Had a really low blood sugar on the train. I used to live in New York City, and coming back from work had a low on the subway, and I was fed up. And I was like, you know what? If I don't take care of it, that doctor might actually be right, and I might die from this. At the time, I was dating a girl who would later become my wife, and I was in my apartment just thinking, you know, if I care about her and I actually want to be around long term, I actually have to give this thing the attention that it needs. I have to take care of it, you know? So that was the first phase, was just like control out of necessity. And the second phase, actually had a near-death experience, urgent low blood sugar in Paris, France, when I was traveling for modeling and acting work. And by myself, it was terrifying. And that experience made me realize that if I didn't do everything that I could, that again, it could be the thing that kills me. And so that was the phase two, as we'll call it, where I decided it wasn't just control, it was mastery. I needed to master this thing.
Yeah. Those are key moments, key things in your life that changed a lot. So I do want to talk about your book, The Blood Sugar Freedom Formula. So there's so much in this book, and to help those who are newly diagnosed, those having T1D for a few years, as well as many years. There's something in there. So tell me, what sparked your desire to write this book?
You know, initially it was sparked by a challenge we ran. We called it the Blood Sugar Formula Challenge, but the first iteration was called the Fix My Blood Sugars Challenge. And it's because we figured out there were a few key things that, if done properly, would fix people's blood sugars, or at the very least give them control, you know, on paper. And after running the challenge, we found out that almost every single person that went through the challenge achieved 90% time in range or greater. And we were like, wait a second, this wasn't an accident. This all worked, and it really worked. And as I'm sure you're familiar with, the standard of care for most places is 70% time in range. They tell you, and for me, I see that as a report card. I'm like, oh, just get to a C-, and that's good enough. You know, seeing that it wasn't just working for me, it was working for everyone. And that was the moment that I knew I needed to put it into a book. And granted, it took a lot longer than I thought. I thought I could write a book in about 2 to 3 months. I had very high hopes. And about 2 years later, the book came to fruition, and within a week of coming out, hit #1 bestseller. And since then, people have been messaging us almost daily with their reports of 90% time in range and A1C, but more importantly, just the numbers is, of course, the freedom, which is where the title came from. The blood sugar freedom formula is to have control so that you can go live your life and not have it get in the way.
So what audience do you think you were looking to reach?
As much as I want to say everyone, I know that's not possible. And so I think that the biggest audience that I sought to reach were people like me who had higher standards than their medical team and had also been let down in some capacity. My doctor forgot to give me insulin and told me I was going to die. There's a lot of people out there who don't know what's possible. They don't know that they can get their A1C under a 7. They don't know that they can eat pasta and have controlled numbers. They don't know that you can, not that you have to, do an Ironman and not die, right? Like I actually, when I went and did that, I thought, this could kill me, who knows? But no, it turns out type 1s can do anything outside of produce their own insulin, right? Like that's the one thing we can't do. And I think it's important that people know that. And so the audience that I sought to help were those who wanted more, but didn't have the support from their medical team to achieve more.
No, that's a great audience to reach because there's a lot of us who don't know all that. So when I read your book, actually twice, I was captivated by your personal story as well as your transparency to share with the readers. I like that you were real and that you shared the struggles that you had. And something that you wrote in your book, and I will quote you, you said, "One of the greatest shortcuts in life is to use the lessons that someone else had to learn the hard way as stepping stones on your own path to speed up your progress." So did this phrase help you to write your book and to help other people?
It definitely gave me a mission attached to the outcome where I knew that I had made many mistakes in my own life with type 1 and that others, through reading a book, could potentially avoid making those mistakes. And to me, that's very exciting. I believe that if somebody has done something you want to accomplish, you should just pay them to give you the shortcut. And throughout my life, I've hired many coaches for every area of my life: career, Ironman, relationships, health, everything. And it has paid off. So yeah, I mean, there's really only two ways to learn. Either you make the mistake yourself and hopefully learn from it, or you learn from the mistakes somebody else already made and just have them teach you. So that was a big part of the goal, was recognizing I've almost died a few times. I've spent every day of my life for multiple years experimenting on myself. Why wouldn't I want to give that to the world? They don't have to.
I think that's amazing. I love that. When I read it, it just popped out to me. So the following, there's a list of a few things, and they all had an impact. They all have an impact on our blood sugars. And you explain these in your book. So can you elaborate on a few? I know we can't reach all of them because that's why we want people to read your book. But I kind of like the pre-bolus. Can you kind of elaborate on when you talk about that? Yeah,
so the pre-bolus, essentially insulin doesn't work fast enough, so we have to make up for it. Right, it falls on us. So the current fast-acting insulins on the market take about 10 to 15 minutes to start working, and we got to give it that 10 to 15 minute head start. And that's usually where advice ends, where doctors will say A equals B, insulin is slow, so give it a head start. But what a lot of people are missing, and what I explore in the book as well, is this idea of context to help us make better decisions. So if my blood sugar is currently low, I might not want to give the insulin a head start, right? If my blood sugar is extremely high, I might need to give the insulin more of a head start. So there's these pieces that a lot of people don't realize they should be aware of. If I've just exercised, I'm more insulin sensitive, it's going to work faster. It's these different pieces. But in addition to that, the type of food, so we have a smoothie. I might need to give insulin more of a head start because smoothies digest quickly. And all of a sudden, even as I'm talking about this, I'm like, this is getting complicated. There's a lot to it, but that's kind of the point, is that type 1 diabetes and just overall metabolic disorders are complicated. There's a lot that goes into our metabolism and how things work. But in my opinion, that's also the exciting part, is that there's a reason for everything. So if you have a high blood sugar, there's a reason that happened. And if you don't know what it is, it just means that you haven't learned it yet. And if we can maintain that level of curiosity, it empowers us to, I would say, have hope for a better tomorrow when we can continue learning.
Yeah. Now when I did do a pre-bolus before I read your book and whatnot, but I didn't do it as long as what I should have. So that has helped me tremendously. Well, that's one of the things that I've learned. And
I'm happy to hear that.
Basal rates are important. Boluses, learning all that, that's so important. And you do talk about that in detail in your book. Is there anything you want to say about those, or it's pretty key getting your basal rates?
Yeah, it's foundational, right? If we're taking the wrong amount of medication, then it's never going to work. But the tricky part with type 1 is that in other illnesses or diseases, the doctor will say, hey, take 2 pills, every day with breakfast, and this will help. And with type 1, it's like, here's a bottle of pills. You might need 1, you might need 50. Figure it out. It's like, what do you mean? And the challenging part is that our medication needs, or our insulin needs, can change, not just day to day, but hour by hour, which is nuts. I had different insulin needs this morning because I didn't sleep well last night. And then afternoon, I need less insulin because I had a great bike ride. I did a little workout before this. And so it becomes our job to recognize these patterns where there are things that will improve insulin sensitivity or increase insulin resistance. And as we can kind of identify them, we build more certainty and predictability into our blood sugars. And to me, it is a heavy lift up front. I'll be totally transparent. There is a lot to learn, right? There's over 50 variables that impact blood sugars up and down. But as long as you're willing to endure that initial heavy lift of learning, it gets so much better on the other side when we have that deeper understanding, because you can pivot, you can adapt to whatever the day has for you.
Yeah, I know I was going to mention the variables, but you got it, and you mentioned it. And stress, like there's a lot of different variables. You go into a lot of detail and timelines in your book. We just don't realize it until we get right down to the nitty gritty. So you talk about some words in your book, which have been meaningful to me, but every blood sugar has a reason.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you feel about that?
There's 2 sides to it. So one is that it's true. Every blood sugar has a reason, and it's our job to put on our diabetes detective hat and just get curious about it. Like, what the heck just happened? And you're going to be frustrated sometimes. I get frustrated too. Last night I had a high blood sugar where for a solid couple of hours, I couldn't figure it out. I was like, what the heck happened? What did I do here? And then, finally it clicked. It was a bad site. Insulin, I left it out in the sun. Okay, dang it. Change the site. We're good. But the other side of it is that of the reasons, we call it the 5% rule. And this isn't scientific in the fact that there is exactly 5%, but just more of the concept that 5% of the time, the reason that blood sugars went crazy is actually out of your control. And that's okay, right? So, which means 95% of the time we should be looking for, how is this my fault? What did I do right or wrong? But 5% of the time, your hormones might have shifted. You're going to have to brush that one off. Like there's something going on inside where that wasn't your fault, and we'll try again. So I think that it's important to recognize they all have reasons, but there are times too where it makes more sense to give yourself grace and see what you can learn from it and then move on.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because even though we try really hard to figure things out, yeah, it is important to give ourselves grace. And I've learned that a lot in your coaching program. I have been very hard on myself in areas. So that has been a really positive thing through the coaching program. And and to get curious, as you mentioned, rather than frustrated.
Right. Which
and
is easier
another
said
thing
than
that
done.
Yeah. And the other thing that you said, here I am, I get to have diabetes. You get to have diabetes. I get to go to work. I get to work out. I love that. And you've really instilled that in my life. Do you love that? Do you like, I get to?
I'll be honest with you. I love it. And it's a little bit frustrating because now that I've said it like this, people say it back to me and I'm like, shoot, I got to hold myself accountable to say, which is good. I appreciate the accountability. But it's true. I have to versus I get to. You diagnose, oh my gosh, I have to take insulin or I'll die. Wait a second. Insulin exists that I can give exogenously through injections. I get to take insulin so I don't die. That's empowering, right? And so, and I think this extends to every area of life where it's like, I have to do the dishes. I get to do that. I have dishes to wash, like I got to eat food tonight. I have to clean the house. I have a house to clean. I get to, and we could, get lost in what's called toxic positivity of just like, it's a great day, even though I'm miserable. And we don't want that. But I think it is a very helpful reframe to change I have to I get to.
It helps your mindset.
Yeah.
So last night we were listening in on your talk. And one of the things that you said was sometimes, and I did include this, I'm just throwing this in here, so this isn't prepared. You just talked about if someone says you can't do something because you're a type 1 diabetic, what does that do to you?
I think there's one discussion to be had where I have to ask myself, does that mean I should? Like, in other words, you can't have 2 liters of soda. Well, I can, but I probably shouldn't. So I'm just going to agree with you on that, right? But yes, most of the time, I would say an attitude of us renegades, right, is watch me. I can't? What do you mean I can't? Of course I can. Watch me. And it's almost an invitation to explore our limitations, which can be fun. I think that it's not something we want to have in conversation with our loved ones. I don't want somebody telling me I can't, but it's kind of fun knowing that type 1 doesn't have to hold us back. We just got to have the right strategy, the right formulas.
That's right. So, in closing, and I do appreciate your time, but I want people to know how they can reach you. What is the best way? Like, is it by YouTube, your YouTube videos, Reels, Instagram, Facebook, email? What is it that we can leave with them?
Yeah, great question. So I would say there's 2 best ways. One is any social media platform. Just search FTF Warrior, which is the company name. And YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, all of them. We're out there. Those are popular because there's probably a couple thousand videos and posts and resources that people can go through. But for a more direct line, I would say the website we have is diabetesinaction.com. And that's obviously a direct line to our coaching program, but also the educational resources of blood sugar formulas, how to navigate the complexities in a way that doesn't feel like chaos. I'll add a third too. Obviously, we've been talking about the book. I think that's a great resource as well for people to get their foot in the door and explore the realm of possibilities. So the Blood Sugar Freedom Formula on Amazon.
Yeah. Well, I really, really appreciate you having input. As you know, that I'm doing a YouTube video and has different episodes. And I really desire to have you on it so that people could see that there is more hope, that they can succeed, and there are opportunities for them. So thank you so much for sharing tonight.
Absolutely, Andrea. Well, it's been a pleasure chatting with you today. And separately, pleasure watching you transform your life. I love watching people who can implement and run with it. And you are impressive to watch. So really keep up the great work. I'm very excited for you.
Thank you.